Welcome back to the Rich Michelson Show with Joan Holiday. We have totally forgotten where
that
we come from.
Mr. Who? Attorney Newcomb.
Well, listen, you take a day off. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. You take a day off, you got to fight your way back in.
It's every radio presenter's nightmare.
So I am absolutely thrilled to have our next guest with us, Randall Deihl and Nan Hill, two very well-known artists, and many of you, I'm sure, have seen their work. Can we do this? Yeah, at the Michelson Galleries, as it happens. I'm connected with that as well. And we have a show that is opening this Friday, April 10th from 6 to 8. It's work of Randall Deihl and Nan Hill. Please show up. It is called Sideshow. It's a two-person exhibition depicting views of carnival sideshows and ruminations on what it means to be a freak. So I think many of you know the work. These are two of the greatest realist painters that the Valley has produced. Their work is known nationally. You guys are like important people here in the Valley. You've been here forever.
We have been here forever.
So here's what I really want to know. It's hard enough for two artists to share a household. But not only are you sharing a household, and I know that Randy's not the easiest guy to live with, but not only are you sharing a household, but in this case, you're working on the same subject matter. So do you talk about it as you're working? Or do you say, oh, no, this is mine, this is your subject, who's doing the human spider and who's doing the... how do you work out these problems?
I'll let Nancy take that one.
Okay.
Generally, I consider that being an artist is like being a freak.
All credit goes to Randy because he is a very, very generous person, and he doesn't. In the show, he has a bee ride, and it's a carnival ride with little bees and children. And when I was doing the work for the show, he invited me to do this two-person show with him, and I was going to paint my nephew as something like a half human, half something, and I didn't know what. And I was looking online for ideas, and I ran across a perfect picture of a bee. And then he had the bee painting, but he was like, "Oh, it's a great idea. Do it. Go ahead." That kind of thing.
So did you visit these carnival shows? Is it something you loved as kids that you grew up with, Randy? Is that something that...
Yes, I'm from a small town in Michigan, right outside of Detroit, Royal Oak, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And we had a carnival that came through town all the time, and I really paint pictures of small town America. That's what I do. They're disappearing. All the diners and the little mom and pop food places are all going, and so are the carnivals and the fairs. So I heard that Staten Island might be going under, and I decided to take a trip there personally and take photographs of it before it left, because I've been painting sideshows and carnivals throughout my career. Mm-hmm. I think the first ones were in New York in the 70s. I did drawings of freaks that were placed against like the Eiffel Tower, Mount Rushmore, Sphinx, and they were interesting drawings too, but I've always been interested in that.
So you mentioned as well, I should just let the audience know, because you mentioned diners and, which you're very well known for, probably your pictures of the Miss Florence Diner, Nick's Nest, a lot of the area places, which the suites at the Academy of Music as well, which have ended up in, some little local museums like, say, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Art Institute of Chicago, Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. I mean, you've reached the heights depicting this kind of 50s diner way of life that's disappearing. Is it a nostalgia thing? Are you drawn to this old, Yeah,
it is kind of a nostalgia thing. I loved it when I was a kid. We took a lot of road trips across America. My father, we went to Texas all the time. We had relatives in Texas, and we stayed in motels. I love the motels, the old 50s motels and the restaurants, and the curio shops, all the sleazy, tacky things were interesting to me. And I just thought you could do paintings of them and they could become something totally different, maybe a Greek tragedy coming out of an abandoned diner. So I've always been fascinated by that.
You're listening to the Bill Newman Show, WHMP. My guests are Randall Deihl and Nan Hill. They have a show that is opening this Friday, April 10th from 6 to 8. Come by and meet them both. It's called Sideshow. Nan, is the Sideshow something that we're happy, we can look back on, but we're happy to be rid of them, this fascination with looking at strange people, or is it more that we need to expand our definition of what's normal? When we look at these paintings, what should we be thinking?
Oh gosh, that stumps me a little bit. There's a great factor of exploitation, with sideshows.
All right.
But on the other hand, for people that were, termed freaks, it was also a way to survive and make a living, So, or sometimes be exploited by others. I have mixed feelings, and I think probably most people do.
Mm-hmm. So when they're looking at these paintings,
yeah,
do you feel that? I mean, the first thing we're struck with, of course, is your artistry. These paintings are obviously labored over, beautiful color combinations. I mean, the way you put this together, you look at what are known as freaks, but they're beautiful. I mean, it's just.
Thank you.
That's what you capture first is, God, look how beautiful this is.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping to go for. I was hoping to show a state where, you feel like you don't fit in. You're different. You're set apart. And the complex, emotions or feelings that go with that. Like I had all these photographs from, past portraiture of these kids, and I tried to pick expressions that were ambiguous, like a little bit, like it convey that feeling, like I'm not like everybody else. I was looking for something kind of poignant. But thank you. I mean, I think it's also we all feel like that. We all feel set apart. We all feel different. We can all relate.
Yeah. I think so. And Randy, your work, you tend to stand a little further out. We're looking at the subjects. We might see the tents. We might see some of the signs, etc. You're really capturing the atmosphere of these sideshows. And again, I think what you do in a lot of your work is, you have us look at these in a way we never have before. The colors are punched up. It's kind of, do you think of yourself as a realist? You're not a photorealist.
No, I don't consider myself a realist. I'm more of a surrealist. But
he thinks of himself as a dealist.
A dealist, yes.
A dealist.
I'm definitely a dealist. And there's a sense of alienation and loneliness in all these places when nobody's there. Mm-hmm. They're interesting places. It's like Edward Hopper seemed to want to paint that, and I would. He's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah,
and there's a little bit of Edward Hopper in me. There's a little bit of Otto Dix, who liked the bizarre and the offbeat, and I also like that. And so if you combine those two people and me from Royal Oak, Michigan.
And also, you go back before that. I notice in a lot of your paintings, you're almost basing them on some of the old Flemish masterpieces. People don't ordinarily see that right away, but the way people are standing, relating to each other, do you find that influence in your work? Is it something you're thinking about?
Absolutely.
You mean like Jan van Eyck, that kind of thing?
Jan van Eyck was my first hero. I was doing hard edge.
There you go, Joan Halliday. Let's get a point for Joan.
There you go. Thank you, Joan.
Art history helped me.
I was doing hard edge geometric abstract paintings. That's what I was taught in art school.
That's what you studied.
That's what I studied, and I skip school a lot and go over to the museum, the Detroit Art Museum, one of the best museums in the world, and I would stare at the small 7-inch Jan van Eyck, St. Jerome in the study with the lion, and it was a masterpiece. I told my teacher, there's so much geometric beauty in that painting alone, and it seems more difficult to paint. every hair is painted so meticulously. I want to try to do that. And he said, go ahead, take a shot at it. And so I started doing self-portraits from the quarter machines, where you get a strip of self-portraits.
Oh yeah, those are fun.
The photo-
The
Those are
little
fun.
photo booths.
Yes.
Yeah. And then
That's-
you actually worked for the New York Times for a little bit.
I did op-ed art. I did Hunt and Liddy at Watergate. I did Castro as a used submarine salesman.
and what about the Marx Brothers?
I also did the Marx Brothers scrapbook. I
That's-
went out to
Yeah,
lunch
that-
with Groucho, by the way.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah,
Wow.
that was great.
Yeah,
They wouldn't let me in because I didn't have a tie, so he took off his tie.
wonderful. And then what brought you to the Valley?
I moved here to the Valley because my brother was living here. I had a friend, Gregory Gillespie, I met in New York,
Yeah.
a great painter, and I admired him greatly and moved out here just to be around somebody who I considered a great artist.
And Nan, what brought you to the Valley?
Just to attend art school.
You went where?
I put it off for a long time, and then finally decided that I needed some formal lessons. So.
And did you start out also with this realist painting, or did you also come from a different tradition?
No, I think sometime, I think it was in the late 60s, I saw the work of Donald Roller Wilson, and I think I always liked technique, like a realist technique the most, but it wasn't popular. And when I saw Donald Roller Wilson's work, then I realized that you can be, your content doesn't have to be conventional and boring, and with this technique, you can be crazy, do what you want. So, it was always like into realism.
Do you ask are you each other's first critic? Do you ask each other, is this painting done?
Yes.
Do I need further work on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Nancy is very helpful to me. She sees things I don't see. Sometimes you're too close to your own paintings, and you have to step back. And she's a good eye on what the mistakes I make and everybody makes. in
We
life.
do. We consult each other.
Yeah. Have you ever worked on each other's paintings?
No.
Yeah.
No. What we want to do is collaborate one day. We want to do Portrait of a Marriage, a big painting collaboration.
Yeah. I think that's a great
All
idea.
the good, bad, and ugly.
All right.
That's an exciting idea.
And your show opens Friday, April 10th, again from 6 to 8. It's going to run through April. It's called Sideshow, Randall Deihl and Nan Hill. You really need to come out and see this work. It's
And I want to add that Rich Michelson is the owner of the gallery, and he's been a fantastic supporter of our work.
I held up that sign that said, "Okay, it's other places have applause signs."
He's great.
I say here, it's not. It's
Just
time
that
to,
he's
time
willing to
throw
do
some
all these
stuff
crazy
this way
shows,
here.
and it's
Rich is the
excellent.
best.
Yeah,
He is the
all right.
best.
All right. We're going to get a tape of this, and when they're complaining to me, I'm going to run it back to them all the time.
In addition to being a phenomenal poet.
Yeah, but when you brought in this work, it was great because you could see your style. Each of you right away, I knew whose work it was. Yet it was also different. You're growing. You're moving towards always exploring new things. I think that's great. Are you on to another project now or not yet? Are you still playing with some of these ideas?
Well, thank you very much, Rich. Yes, we are thinking of new projects. However, we still have a little hangover from the Sideshow, and we're still maybe thinking about it. It will probably go away, but it's a fun project.
You'll be bringing
to
in
work on.
paintings probably right throughout the
Yes.
show. I have to tell people that Randy has in the past come in during the show, taken something off the wall, brought it home, and then brought it back the next day, and the sky's a different color.
I would drag the painting off the wall of the Met
That's right.
and go back home and work on it.
Yes, when he sees his work in museums, he goes up and starts touching it and rubbing specks off. And I'm like, Randy, you can't do that. You don't own it anymore.
Yeah. I just saw the movie Turner, where I think he went. It was great. He went in while the wall was hanging and put a little red on this right here. It's never done.
Just remember, Whistler always thought the work belonged to him, even when collectors bought it. he would come and drag it off the wall, and they never see it again.
Right.
Oh man, I did
So-
not know that.
Yeah.
That's not going to be great for sales. If you buy a Randy Deihl painting,
I won't
am
do that.
telling you at the show, it is yours. I will fight him off. Don't worry about it. It's just great that the two of you started here, that your careers are moving here. You've both become so well known. For me, I've loved being able to watch as your work has grown for so many years, and to see your reputation just continue to grow. Again, thank you all for joining me. This was my debut effort. Not so bad. I think I'll come back.
You did a
Well
fantastic
done.
job.
And
Michelson.
again,
Thank
you're
you.
listening to WHMP. It's the Bill Newman Show. My name is Rich Michelson. Thank you, Joan Holliday, for guiding me through this.
Oh, my
Much
pleasure. You didn't
appreciate
even need it.
And I want to thank my guests, Randall Deihl and Nan Hill. Come out Friday from 6 to 8, or Michelson Galleries. They'll be there. You'll be there. Thank you very much.